For latest updates and short audio clips, follow us on Instagram, Reading the Author.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast Reading the Author, a unique show where we read authors' mind and not their book. Meanwhile, I truly believe and pray that you and your families are completely safe and healthy as well. Guys, today we have Sutapa Basu ma'am with us, and she's the author of altogether 10 books. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming on our show. It is my honor to be able to host it today.
Hi Gaurav, it's a pleasure actually to be on Reading the Author show, and I'm so happy to be here.
Likewise, ma'am. So, ma'am, before we get into the podcast and know much more about your books, about your upcoming plans and everything, I would request you to please introduce yourself so that our listeners can know much more about you, and do let us know how you started this writing journey.
Okay, so my childhood has been spent mostly in army cantonments across the country because my father was serving as an officer in the Indian Army. So every 2 years I would be traveling, to a new place, admitted into a new school, making new friends, meeting new people. So change was a constant in my life as a child. And the other constant that was always there with me were books. Okay. So I was a voracious reader. Even as a child, I would read maybe one book a day kind of a thing. So as I grew up and, a lot of authors were my favorites, I started dreaming that how would it be if I would also write like them and somebody would read my books. So that is the time I started actually dreaming to become a writer. And my mother says that I used to write some plays, based on whatever I used to read when I was just about 8 or 9 years old. So all through my school years, I would keep writing, but I never really wrote with the intention of publishing anything. And my education also has been leaning very heavily on literature, books, writing. When I grew up, I married an army officer, so my traveling continued. Okay. During those days, I was, because I was more mature, I was able to channelize my creativity. And मैंने बहुत सारे short stories लिखे, poems लिखे, and when I started working, the first 25 years of my professional life was teaching. Okay. And the next 20 years was publishing. And I published with, giants like Oxford University Press and Encyclopedia Britannica. उनके साथ मैंने बहुत सारे books design किए, develop किए, nearly more than 500 books actually. फिर it was only in 2014 that I decided कि I must write a book and I must try and see whether it can be published. Of course, I had no idea कि मैं लिख पाऊंगी कि नहीं और उसको कोई publish भी करेगा कि नहीं, and will anybody read it, at all. And then while I was writing my first book in 2016, one of my stories, it won the first prize at the Write India contest by the Times of India. And that gave me a great boost. So I felt कि okay, if people feel that I can my stories can win prizes, then I suppose people would also read my stories. So my first book was a psychological thriller. It was called Dangle, and it was published by Readomania Publishers in 2016. And in 2017, it was nominated the Best Debut Fiction by Anupam Kher Book Awards. Since then, I have been authoring and publishing in many genres like historical novels, thrillers, anthologies, even children's books. My poetry has been published in 4 poetry collections actually, and one of my first books, Padmavati, is a bestseller even today. So after that, a lot of my books won a lot of awards. I was awarded Best Fiction Award by the Arthur Awards 2019 for my book, The Curse of Nadesha. I was also awarded Excellence in Publishing by the Public Diplomacy Forum in 2021. And in 2023, a non-fiction book for children called The Birth of My Nation was nominated for Best Young Adult Fiction by Value of Words Book Awards and Arthur Awards. And during 2023, it was a surprise to me, but 5 schools in India decided to prescribe that book as a supplementary reader, for their students. So this has been my writing journey till now, and मेरे जो सपने थे बचपन में कि मैं एक राइटर बनूंगी वो तो पूरे हो गए. तो मैंने सोचा कि why not give something back also to this community of books, readers and reading. So accordingly, recently I have founded the Sutapa studio, which through writing courses and workshops, we mentor aspiring writers. And I also run a live chat show, which is called Bistro Bus, Conversations with Sutapa Basu, and a travel blog, which is called Sutapa's Itchy Feet. So till now, it has been a very fruitful journey, and but I have a long way to go. तो देखते हैं आगे आगे होता है क्या.
Definitely, ma'am. That's truly inspiring, and such a wonderful journey you had, ma'am, and the lots of awards and everything is there. So,
thank you.
Ma'am, my next question to this podcast is after listening to this podcast, many people would just love to explore the books, and they would be interested in buying it. So when it comes to specifically talking about your latest book, that is Parvatibai. So can you share some insights for the new readers, like what they can expect from this book?
So my latest book, which is called Parvatibai, The Forgotten Witness of the Battle of Panipat. So ये जो किताब है ये एक series is a part of a series about heroic women of India who have created history. So the first one in that series was Padmavati, which is a bestseller even now, and the second one is Parvatibai. Now, both these women, if you look at Indian history, both the women have been connected with very significant historical events. लेकिन वो उनके बारे में there is hardly anything. When I went into my research, मैंने मतलब कहीं recorded नहीं देखा कि what kind of people were they. उनके lives में और क्या क्या हुआ, क्यों मतलब what gave them the strength to become what they were, what they became, in history. So my vision for this book, Parvatibai, is to bring to the readers what was it that helped them to make history. So Parvatibai basically was the wife of the Maratha commander Sadashiv Rao Bhau, and she was also called the Bai Sahib. She was a part of the very powerful Maratha Peshwa's family. And when the Afghan invader Abdali, he invaded India, then Sadashiv Rao Bhau was commanded the Maratha army, which went to the north of India from Pune to fight the invader. And Parvatibai accompanied that army. She was there throughout the siege which happened at Panipat and throughout the battle. Now, this battle, the third battle of Panipat, is a very, very important event in the history of India because it was the turning point in the Indian history. Now, if the Maratha army, which was a very strong, a very brave and valorous army, if they had won the battle, then India would have been ruled by the Marathas and possibly a Hindu Samrajya, and the British would have never been able to get a foothold, and we would have never been colonized for 300 years after that. So this battle was a very, very important battle, and there are lots of recorded reviews on why the Marathas lost this battle. Now, it is a very strange thing, but Parvatibai, who was an eyewitness to that battle, there is hardly anything about her views, her opinions. So that is what really intrigued me, and that's why I did the research on it. And this book is about Parvatibai and the fact that she was a very brave warrior. She herself was a warrior, and how she helped in the strategies of the Battle of Panipat, and what were the reasons why the Marathas lost this battle. So that is what this book is all about, and it's an eyewitness account basically. So while it is actually in a form of a narrative, so people would like reading it, but it also brings forth the historical facts and events that happened during that era. So that is what my vision is for this book, that readers should get to know, about this battle, about this very important historical event through the eyes of a lady who tried to create history and change history.
So, ma'am, when it comes to talking about you all together, all the 10th book, and just before the recording, we had a word and you shared that you are writing your 11th book as well. So now talking from a reader who has read all your books, and what they can expect from your upcoming book. I have been in conversation with more than, you can say, 200 plus authors as of now, and most of them are working towards making themselves as a particular brand, or they want to be known, remembered as a certain genre, certain type of author. When it comes to personal branding specifically, I'm talking about. So when it comes to you, have you ever thought कि ठीक है, अगर ये 11वीं बुक मेरी निकलेगी और किसी मेरे रीडर ने सारी बुक्स पढ़ी है, तो वो जो मेरी 11वीं बुक उसने उठाई कि ठीक है, इट्स अ न्यू बुक बाय सुतपा मैम, तो उसके माइंड में वो सडन इम्पैक्ट क्या आना चाहिए? कभी सोचा इस बारे में कि ठीक है, सुतपा मैम की बुक है, वो ये ऐसी होगी? कुछ ऐसा कभी सोचा इस बारे में मैम?
So I don't know whether writers can really be brands, लेकिन मुझे ये ऐसा लगता है कि I think any reader who would pick up my book would be somebody who likes to read about history. Okay. Because even my thrillers, they also have some kind of historical background or a historical heritage that comes through in those books. So if you're talking about my latest book, it's a book which is actually a thriller, but it is for young adults. But at the same time, what my vision for that book is that whatever may happen in the present, there will always be a connect to some kind of history in the past. So for me, a lot of people think that history is only about the past and it's only about dead people. But I believe that history is alive and a part of the present world. Because if we want to understand any event that is happening right now and probably is affecting our lives, we need to know the history or the cause behind it. And for that, we have to go to the past. We have to go to the history of that event. So that's why history is so significant for all of us. We learn so much from history. We also learn that there were certain things that happened in the past and, they had very disastrous consequences. So we would learn from that not to repeat those same mistakes. And the other thing that I have found that, all these people about whom we read in history books, they are not just names, and whatever they have done are not just some things that they have done. We have to history will, if you go into the detail, you will realize that these people were actually ordinary people, just like us. But they had something in them, some strength in them, which helped them to overcome obstacles and helped them to achieve whatever they wanted in life. And in fact, my book Parvatibai also says that, because she came from a very, very ordinary background, and yet she grew into a historical figure who is well known in the Maratha history. So I believe history is something that is not, dry and drab, because that is what we see in our when we read history in school or in college. History is something that is very alive, and I want to write it in such a way that I pull my readers into this era and make them experience what these historical figures or these historical events made people around them experience. That is what I would want to do. And if you consider that a kind of branding, well then that is branding. I want history to come alive for my readers.
So, ma'am, my next question to this podcast is, after the first lockdown was over, the numbers of author got increased very rapidly. We have seen, we have been in this industry for more than 7 years as of now, And we have
Right.
seen that particular boom in this industry. Like, numbers of author got increased very rapidly. In fact, as of now, you also can see that publishing has become much more easier as it was used to be. Like, around
Yes.
5 to 10 years ago, we have literary
Right.
agents, we have KDPs there, and lots of other publishing services are there. So according to you, like, as you have completed this whole journey and you are on the other side of the river, so what exactly do you think, like, how hard it has become? Because now hundreds of books are being published every week, we can say. So how hard it has become to make your book stand out in the market as of now?
First and foremost, Gaurav, I'm very happy that many books are getting published. I'm also very happy that many people are taking to writing, and obviously many people have also taken to reading. So that's a very happy scenario as far as I'm concerned. But you're right. It is difficult today to make any author. It finds it difficult to make his or her book stand out because there are so many books which are happening. So I believe that it's not just enough to write a book. Once you write the book, and even when you're writing the book, you need to have some kind of a market strategy, some kind of a plan available to you. You have to develop that plan. And once the book is published or it's gone into print, you have to start putting that market strategy into place. So again, just like publishing has become much easier, as you're saying, through publishing agents or through KDP and so on, it's now even easier to market your books. First and foremost, there is social media. So everybody can be a part of those platforms, and you can create posts which will pitch your book, which will promote your book easily. The other thing is, like you just said, that you have these podcasts where readers can create their own podcast, or they can come on other people's podcasts, they can have interviews, and that is another strategy of marketing their books. What I do is, when I am researching for my book, research throws up lots of information, and an author has to really go through all that information and only pick out that information which will help the author's story to go forward. You can't put everything in the book. But what I do is, I keep a lot of that information in a file which is for marketing. So once my book is published, I use visuals, I use sometimes videos, sometimes blogs, sometimes news items which have which are connected to my story, and I use those also as marketing pitches. So I think what every author needs is actually a marketing strategy, a marketing plan, along with writing and publishing the books.
So, ma'am, like, what's your particular writing schedule? Like, do you devote some particular hours to writing, or it's like random कि कभी कोई thought आया तो बैठ के phone में या डायरी में लिख लिया, फिर बाद में बैठ के लिख रहे हैं, या every day you devote some particular hours to writing? How does it goes with you?
So I definitely devote hours to my writing. So what I do is कि मैं बैठ जाती हूँ 9 बजे मेरे मेरे desktop के सामने, and I start keying in whatever I have planned. So I usually have a kind of plan कि today I will finish. And the other thing that I have always kept in mind is two things: reading and writing, they go together. So मैं जरूर कुछ पढ़ूंगी every day, and I will write something every day. It could be the chapter of whichever book I'm writing. So I give myself a deadline कि मुझे एक chapter खत्म करना है आज. But there are times when sometimes वो जो आप लिखना चाहते हो वो आता नहीं है, doesn't come. So then what I do is I write a blog, I write a post, or I write a short story. So, but I write something. So this is a kind of discipline that I have given myself कि मैं कुछ पढ़ूंगी और मैं कुछ लिखूंगी जरूर every day. So that is something that I do. But as you said that, yes, a lot of times, and that happens also very frequently, ideas come into your mind, thoughts come into your mind. And it is so strange that often it comes when you are just waking out of sleep, early in the morning. So मैं क्या करती हूँ, एक वहाँ पे एक किताब रखती हूँ, एक डायरी रखती हूँ और उसमें लिख लेती हूँ या फोन में लिख लेती हूँ. Because once you get up from bed and आप अपना दिन शुरू कर देते हो, वो सारे thoughts गायब हो जाते. So I definitely write it down then and there. Another very strange thing that happens to me is जब मैं कोई story लिख रही हूँ, तो उसके जो पात्र हैं, the protagonists, the characters, after a while they start playing in my head. मतलब उनके जो conversations या dialogues हैं for certain portions of my story, वो मेरे दिमाग में आते रहते. It's like they have taken over my mind kind of a thing, and they say that we are going to speak like this. तो वो भी मैं quickly लिख लेती हूँ because मैं फिर भूल जाऊंगी. So that is another thing that I do, So while I do have a kind of definitely a set routine for my writing, but I also can write randomly, whenever the thoughts or ideas come into my head.
In fact, what I have seen, ma'am, like, I am also an author. Like 2 books मैंने लिखी थी and वो publish नहीं हो पाई due to lack of knowledge and all. तो उस वजह से फिर अब तो सारी चीज़ें हम book से related करते हैं, but मेरी book अभी तक publish नहीं हुई. So what I personally
I'm sure they'll get published.
Thank you. So what I personally feel ना कि the main problem with the creative people like us is ना कि हमारे पास ना thoughts इतने ज़्यादा आते रहते हैं, लेकिन कहीं भी आप जाते रहो, आप नॉर्मल एक बस में बैठे हो, आप कहीं ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, कुछ भी आपके पास ऐसे थॉट आएंगे इंस्टेंटली, एंड अगर आपने उससे उस वक्त नहीं जॉट डाउन किया ना तो दे कैन इंस्टेंटली डस्ट गो, फिर याद भी नहीं आते हैं कि क्या था. सो दैट्स क्वाइट, मेरी भी जो फोन के पूरे नोट्स वाले सेक्शन है वो पूरे भरे रहते हैं हमेशा सारी चीजों से. सो मैम, माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू दिस पॉडकास्ट, लाइक आपकी फर्स्ट बुक कब रिलीज हुई थी?
My first book was released in 2016, which was Dangle.
Okay. And now let's get back to the time when you heard कि okay, tomorrow your book will be released in the like सबके सामने आपकी book release हो जाएगी, everybody will be able to judge them, everybody will be able to buy it, review it, rate it, everything will be there. So on that particular eve, what was going on in your mind? Like, were you feeling relaxed, excited? Have you just marked down some milestones कि okay, these many people know me, my book has to be sold out these many copies, या फिर मेरी बुक की लॉन्चिंग ऐसी होगी, लोगों के रिव्यूज ऐसे आएंगे? क्या चल रहा था उस वक्त माइंड में?
Definitely I'll be excited. For every book I'm excited. Of course, for my debut, though, I could not believe when I held the book in my hand. It had a beautiful blue cover और मेरी नाम उस पे है as an author. I just could not believe that it was happening. But yes, every time my book is released, I of course feel very good, very excited. At the same time, I have already created my plans to market that book. So I immediately start jotting down first what is going to be the first step, which are the people I'm going to contact. I already have a group, not 1, 2, 3 groups actually, on my on my WhatsApp, and I start posting my promotional post for the book on that to them. I usually also try and write some kind of a feature or some kind of an article which is about the book. And I also, promote that. I post it on my social media platforms, and I post it to all the people, all the contact groups that I have. So actually, basically what happens is I'm already planning कि once the book is out, what am I going to do? What is the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, and so on.
So, ma'am, like, do you promote these paid reviews thing? Like, in our industry, it's a very large business, as I can see. Like, authors, publishers, they go for paid reviews and paid, promotions. Promotions to many कहूँगा, but when it comes to reviews particularly, they just, bombard their book with those positive reviews. So, are you in favor of that? Or you are someone who feels...
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. Because you see, I believe that any book that is going out into the market, into the reading community, readers must pick it up for its own merit. And once they read it, actually I have never found it very difficult to get reviews for my books, because books are picked up and people write back to me. They tell me that we enjoyed this part of it and we enjoyed reading about it. And then sometimes they post reviews on Amazon and Goodreads by themselves, and sometimes I say that you've already told me what you like about the book, why don't you just post it? And they do that. In fact, I get a lot of video reviews as well. I have been putting up for Parvatibai, I have put up 2-3 video reviews, which I post on my social media platforms. So I haven't really had a problem about reviews, and I don't think people should do paid reviews, because, like I said, that any book should move or should be sold on its own merit.
But ma'am, like, what I have seen, like, many clients, they just come and just go ahead with, okay, theek hai, we are going for paid reviews, and they also promote these paid reviews things. But the main issue is that they say, okay, if, I will also just, just market my book like organically, अगर सामने वाला भी author ऐसा कर रहा है, because तभी same grounds पे रहेंगे, and that's how they just justify this, paid review things.
What happens is that अगर आप इस रास्ते से आप चलोगे, इस रास्ते पे, there is a limit to where you can reach. I believe that अगर आप अपने दम पे, अपने बुक के दम पे अगर आप आगे बढ़ोगे, then the sky is the limit. But these kind of manipulated means always be limited. There's only so much that you can do with that, and I don't know how much people will remember your books. So today, if people come to me and they talk to me about Padmavati, which I think came out in 2017 or 18, so many years back, and they still read it and they still talk about it, it is because they have heard so much about it from other readers. They felt that the book, the story is very good and it's on its own merit. And very frankly, I believe that the success of any writer depends upon how much people will remember your books and your writing. I often, मैं सपना देखती हूँ कि बहुत साल बाद जब मैं नहीं रहूंगी, somebody will pick up my writing, read it, and they will say, did she write for me? It seems as though she has written for me. I think that is the kind of success and that I would dream of.
Okay, so that's all for today, guys. I hope you must have enjoyed this lovely and inspiring conversation with Sutapa ma'am. And if you do, then do follow our podcast, available on all the leading podcast platforms. And don't forget to buy and read the book. आप just Amazon पे जाएं, वहाँ पे सर्च करें Sutapa Basu मैम की सारी बुक आ जाएगी. ज़रूर खरीदें, पढ़ें और अपने जानने वाले चैनल से ज़रूर शेयर करें. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming on our show. It was my honor to be able to host you today.
Thank you, Gaurav. It's been a privilege to be on Reading the Author show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.